Adam, hello.
Hello.
Oh, we're coming in with a little sultry voice today.
Hello.
You sound like Darla. You sound like Darla.
Oh, yes.
Season 1.
Mm-hmm.
Adam, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Actually, my allergies are annoying today for some reason. I was fine this whole weekend, and then I woke up this morning and I was like...
That was your I'm having allergies voice, actually. Mm-hmm. Not your sultry voice.
Yeah. I'm sick. Boo, you whore. How are you?
I'm so happy you asked. I have been changed for good.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
Well, not really, actually, because that won't happen until part 2.
A year from now.
Something has changed within me. Something is not the same.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I'm living my life post seeing Wicked, and Adam is not there yet, so I haven't been able to discuss too much about it with him.
Also, witches. Big year for witches.
Accurate, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This
Agatha, Wicked.
Yeah. Agatha, Wicked.
Hermione's always in the conversation. Yeah.
I'm watching Buffy.
Yeah?
Yaz
you haven't gotten to the witchcraft yet in Buffy yet, but it's coming.
No, but I know. Well, we had the in season 1 there was the witch, not a good witch though. She was a bad witch.
It's just that you'll get to Willow being a witch in a couple seasons.
Yeah. What was I was going to say something about that though. About Wicked. I am the person.
It's like a little alfalfa hair.
Oh, I couldn't see because the way my screen was, it was cut off. I just want to say that I've already bitched about like how many spoilers there are, how normalized it is to have things spoiled like online.
Yeah,
nowadays.
She bitched about it and then just spoiled the whole film of Wicked to me right before we started recording. She was like, well, let me tell you all about it.
Adam knows nothing about Wicked. He's never seen the musical, never read the book.
I just found out it's a musical.
From that one person that tweeted. So thankfully they told you.
Thank God. Now I won't see it for sure.
But I said to Michael, I was like, we have to see this movie because I don't want anything to be spoiled for me. I was like, I don't want. And I was so happy. I think I had to avoid one song online, though they posted What Is This Feeling on their YouTube. And so I was like, and it popped up right away because I'm subscribed to the Wicked movie YouTube. And so I just had to scroll away so it wouldn't autoplay. But yeah, I'm very much I need to go and see it. I don't like anyone telling me about movies that I'm invested in because I feel like I'll start to have an opinion before I've even seen it. I just don't like hearing really anything. So, but when you see it, then we'll chat. So anyone else living in their post Wicked film era, let me know in the comments. Let me know.
Well, our first episode or our next episode of Showgaze is going to be Wicked Part 1. So
the film the film?
Yeah, Molly and RJ and I are going to disseminate it soon.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait. Okay, I'll have to listen to that. As well.
But Ari, we're not here to talk about Wicked. We're here to talk about another witch.
A couple of witches and wizards, a little handful. This week we read chapter 29 called The Phoenix Lament. Adam, what happens in this chapter?
Hogwarts struggles with the fallout of Dumbledore's death and decisions. The truth, the story is revealed in its entirety, and truths are revealed.
The story is revealed?
Yeah, what happened while he wasn't, what happened in the school when he was with them.
Okay, yes. Yeah, what happened when Harry was running
how we got to a battle. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Harry's next to the body. Hagrid tries to pull him away. This is Dumbledore's body, by the way. Hagrid tries to pull him away. He won't leave Dumbledore's side, but then finally a hand grabs his hand and slowly pulls him away. And he only notices due to the scent, the flowery scent, that it's Ginny. Fine. She leads him back into the castle. I do like this. She doesn't actually... Jo is not a prose writer that uses a lot of like visual imagery as metaphor. She doesn't do this a lot. She's like she's a very like straightforward writer. She's writing a children's book. It's fine. Yeah. But she says that the Gryffindor rubies that have fallen into the entrance hall look like drops of blood on the floor. And I was like, ooh, I really liked that. You could like see it immediately in your head. It was great. They go back upstairs. There's a bunch of students like staring at Harry and whispering. This is now one of the most repeated things that has happened in this book series is students staring at Harry.
Every book. They're always whispering about him.
At once every like 4 chapters, Harry's getting whispered about.
Yeah.
She takes him up to the hospital wing. He's like, I'm fine. I don't need to go to the hospital wing. She's like, it's not a conversation. We're going to the hospital wing because that's where everybody is. And that's when he's like, oh shit, there were bodies. So he asks who died. And she says nobody died, but Bill was hurt. He was attacked by Fenrir Greyback. And he's not doing well.
The most handsome, the most cool Harry's by panic moment, Bill Weasley.
Yes. Bill is hot. Please remember that Bill was the hot one. Okay?
Yes. Bill is the hot brother.
That'll come back later in this chapter.
Yes.
So they go upstairs. She does say that like during the battle, she says that everyone ended up being fine because she thinks that the Felix Felicis actually saved them. Every curse seemed to just miss them.
Right.
And then she also does say one Death Eater did die. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, one that we don't. No Death Eater that we're like already aware of. Just a rando.
Right. Rando. Gibbon
the rando.
Gibbon the rando. Gibbon the Gibbon. He was a monkey. He was a monkey Death Eater that died.
Just like one Death Eater that's a monkey.
Why not?
Yeah. Let anyone join.
They go into the hospital wing. Bill is in bed. Neville's also in a hospital bed because he was injured as well. They do not talk to Neville in this chapter, so that is the last time I will be speaking about Neville, just so you know. They ignore Neville. Right?
He's asleep.
He's asleep,
yeah, okay,
but they ignore him.
He's just sitting there and
no one goes over. Everyone's just talking. He's like...
Yeah, everyone's all around Bill, and then Neville's just like, all right.
Okay.
He's asleep. They didn't want to wake him.
He's asleep. I don't know how you would. Maybe she gave him something to knock him out. Because I don't know. There's no way.
You wouldn't sleep well in like a hospital in general. In a hospital wing?
The dormitory. The dormitory.
Literally just a dorm where like anyone can come in at any time and just be sitting there talking. I would not sleep a wink.
Oh, I didn't even mean that. Yes, you're right. But also, like, you just went through battle. There's no way you're just like,
the trauma.
Now, just a good nap. Like, the adrenaline, bitch. I'd be up for like a day straight.
Maybe they gave him a sleeping draft. They were like, there's nothing you can do but just like conk out. And he was like, all right.
Because technically, Bill is also asleep. We're just tending. We're just tending.
Wait, Adam,
everyone's
then
asleep.
That's even worse. They're both sleeping, but no one is around Neville, and they're all around Bill. Actually, it's still bad.
So the wounds. So his face is fucked. Yeah. He has deep gashes from the bites and I'm assuming I don't know what's going on, but he is scarred. His face is shredded, basically. And Harry remembers the the spell that Snape did on Draco's body after he Sectum Sempered him. And so he was like, maybe there's a spell. And Madame Pomfrey's like, I've tried everything. This is just simply the best we can do because he was a werewolf. And it's like, that's when Remus is like, they're like cursed scars. He's probably going to have these scars for life. He also might. We don't know if he's going to have any other wolfish characteristics. That is when Ginny informs the room that Albus Dumbledore has passed away, has been murdered, really. Lupin has a huge reaction to this news. Normally stoic, calm Lupin is like struck by this news and has to like sit down. Harry feels like he feels like he should look away. It feels like it's so private. Yeah.
Something that he should not be watching. Yeah.
And Madame Pomfrey bursts into tears when she finds out, which I was like, oh, Madame Pomfrey. Poppy. Yeah. There's a great mini Poppy bit coming up. Don't worry.
There is. I knew you were going to mention that. I knew it. I was like, ooh, this is great.
And then as they're crying and kind of like processing what they just heard, they hear this sound from the grounds. And it is a phoenix song. It's Fox singing like a morning, Mourning, a morning song. It's so hard to imagine what this. First of all, what does a phoenix sound like? I mean, I know what he sounds like in the movie, but like, what does a phoenix sound like? And then also, what does like a morning call sound like?
Do you know those like the didgeridoos? Do you even know what that is?
Mm-hmm.
A didgeridoo. I almost imagine it like a similar kind of almost weird, like almost at times like spooky kind of sound, but like in a higher register.
Yeah,
that's what I imagine.
It's like inside the body.
Yes, that you just get like full body chills when you hear it. Yeah.
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 They listen to the song for a while as everyone is like crying, processing, whatever.
And it's like kind of, I can't remember what wording was used, but it was like, it's like haunting and comforting at the same time, kind of. Like it is comforting, but it also is like, because it's just obviously a very sad song being sung.
And then Professor McGonagall comes in, Minerva, and she is also informed by Harry that Dumbledore has died. And she
knew he died.
Right.
She did not know who killed him.
Sorry, that's what she knew. She finds out how Dumbledore died.
Yes.
That Snape killed him.
And
she is like struck and like almost like falls over.
Physically
so Poppy conjures up a chair and like throws it under her. And it's incredible. It's the best part of this chapter.
She was like, I know, girl. I was just going through it. And they told me to shush.
Yeah.
And the children here told me to shush.
Right. So they discuss this new information that Snape killed Dumbledore. Also, I should say, Tonks is in the room.
Tonks, Lupin.
Remus Lupin.
Yeah.
Harry, Hermione, Ron, Bill's in bed, Neville's in bed, Luna's in the room, Ginny's in the room.
Yeah.
Poppy's obviously in the hospital wing.
Yeah.
Minerva comes in. Okay, that's where we're at. That's the list of characters in the room so far. So, they talk about how Dumbledore always had said he had ironclad proof of Snape's change, that he wasn't a bad guy. He never said what it was, but he was like, just trust me, he's great. Great guy.
Trust me, he's great.
Yeah. And so they were like, we always trusted him, blah, blah, I can't believe he would do this. And then Harry is like, I know what his proof was. His proof, which it's not, by the way, but true. His proof is that Snape, he knows Snape is the one who overheard the prophecy and revealed it to Voldemort, setting off the events into motion that led to Harry's parents dying. and then later felt guilty. Harry that's not what it is, but Harry thinks that it's about that. Okay, here's what's crazy to me is it actually was in this moment that I had the realization, because like I've read the whole book series, I've seen all the movies, and there is an aspect of Snape's story that like has become legend and like is frequently talked about. So I forgot that at this point when the book comes out, we actually don't know that it's all about a crush. Sorry, spoiler alert. It's about a crush. I just think it's so crazy. In that moment, I was like, oh, this is a book written for, like, it was like, oh, it's a book written for kids. Cause like, no, it's not a read on the book. We're doing how many fucking weeks? It's not a read of the book, but like, it's just crazy to me that I was like, oh, the fact that it really all just ends up being like, and he liked her is like kind of insane.
It was this girl he liked. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And like, obviously like it's more complicated than that. Like Snape is a very complicated character, blah, 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 blah. I understand, but it is very funny that his reasoning is like, oh, he felt guilty. Like Harry's like, oh, he felt sorry that he did it, blah, 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 blah. When like, he's not really far off from what actually did happen. It's just more like, oh, he felt sorry not because your dad died, but specifically because your mom died, who he just had a crush on. And they were like
childhood friends. Which is just so crazy that like even like Lupin has no idea that they were childhood friends. I guess maybe at some point Lily is like embarrassed of them being friends because of the kind of person he's grown to be.
Turning
so maybe
into.
she purposefully doesn't tell anyone. I don't know, but it's just bizarre that I'm like, none of you knew that they were childhood friends.
Yeah, it's weird. Listen, Lupin was very busy. He was like, I'm struggling with being a werewolf.
That is true. He was turning into a werewolf once a month. So yeah, fair.
Yeah. And there's no one left they can talk to about it. Maybe Peter Pettigrew is like, oh no, I fully remember him having a crush.
They were besties.
I would watch them anyway. So anyway, that's just what I was like, wow, it really is just that at the end of the day. So anyway, we'll get to it next book. They now talk about how Minerva's like, I don't even know how they got in. Everything was locked. Everything was secure. We were patrolling. Dumbledore told us to patrol for a few hours. Like, there were enchantments on everything. I don't know how the fuck they got in. And Harry's like, I know. Because y'all didn't listen to me when I said
was trying to tell you,
fucking up to something. And he tells them about the vanishing cabinets and how that's how they got in. And so this is where Ron, Ginny, Neville, they talk about their story because they split up into two groups. So it was Ron, Ginny, Neville, and then it was Luna and Hermione.
Yeah.
So the three of them were up patrolling the room of requirement with the map. And they didn't see Malfoy on the map, so they knew he must be in the room of requirement. So they were waiting for him to come out. They saw him come out, and then he had the shriveled hand of glory, which famously only allows the holder to see light. Whatever.
Yeah.
To see
everything else, it's black for everyone else, basically.
Then he sees that they're in the hallway. So then he throws this Peruvian smoke screen, which is apparently
Instant darkness powder.
Weasley's Wizard Wheezes product. Yikes.
No.
And so that's so dark. That's truly so dark they can't see anything. Lumos doesn't work. Nothing works. So Draco leads the Death Eaters. I like to imagine that they're all holding hands. They're all linked holding hands.
Oh God, imagine holding Fenrir Greyback's hand.
And then the other three are like, well, we don't want to just throw out curses in case we accidentally hit each other, blah, blah, blah. So they finally stumble out trying to follow where they went to. They come around the corner, and that's when they ran into the Order, let them know, hey, we just saw this. and then they try to head them off. So the Death Eaters start fighting. There's a blonde one who runs up to the astronomy tower first to set off the dark mark. But then they think he comes back down because maybe he got nervous. He didn't want to wait for Dumbledore by himself. So he comes back down to join in the fight, and then he gets immediately hit by an Avada Kedavra from one of the other Death Eaters.
That was the blonde one? A different blonde?
No, sorry. The blonde, sorry. I thought Gibbon was the blonde one, so I wrote it down and then I crossed it out. Gibbon is a separate person from the blonde one.
Okay,
Gibbon is the one who died.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Maybe he was blonde too. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
We don't know anything about his physical characteristics. Yeah.
No, Adam, he's a monkey. We do know about his physical characteristics.
Right, that's true. He's a blonde monkey. Sorry, when I said blonde one, I meant blonde monkey.
Blonde monkey.
Yeah. So he goes set up the dark mark. He comes back downstairs, gets immediately hit the Avada Kedavra curse. I kind of like that. It's almost like the dark mark is like cursed, that like there has to be a body, there has to be a death.
Yeah.
And I like the kind of dramatic irony that it ends up being like
a Death Eater
he's the one who dies.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, right. The one that cast
that set it off. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of liked that. I mean, like, listen, do I love death? No, but like I was like,
no, I know what you mean.
Serves you fucking right, asshole.
Hey, I love death if it's played by Aubrey Plaza, okay?
Hey.
Give me that death.
Honey.
Give me that.
So he died. Okay. So then cut to Hermione and Luna, who had been patrolling outside Snape's office. So this was because Harry had overheard that conversation from the Christmas party ages ago where Snape was trying to help Draco. So that was why. Right? Just so we're clear.
He still doesn't trust him. Yeah.
Right. Phileas Flitwick had run down to get Snape's help because the Order had requested it. Is Phileas Flitwick part of the Order, or he's just like a good guy?
I don't know. I don't think they ever really say that. Him and Sprout, it's never clear if they are.
I think they're just like,
or not.
I think they're just like good, upstanding people who are not necessarily part of the actual organized resistance movement.
Minerva, we've seen at Grimmauld Place, but she's the only one that's mentioned, correct? I can't remember any other professor being mentioned.
This would have been a great chance to have Professor Sinistra, show up, and we could learn more about her.
Yeah.
So he runs down to grab Snape. He goes and he like barely even registers that Luna and Hermione are out of their dorms, which is funny to me. He runs into Snape's office, tells whatever. Hermione and Luna hear a thud. Snape runs out and says Phileas
fainted.
Was struck by shock and passed out on the floor. Please go assist him. And then billowed up the stairs. And Hermione starts crying because she's like, if we had we just believed him. We didn't know. We thought he was telling the truth, and we went to go help Flitwick, and maybe we could have stopped Snape, and then blah blah blah. And I liked that Remus, of course, is if you had shown him any whatever, he might have killed
come
you.
on.
At the end of the day, we know he wouldn't have killed them, but he definitely
probably
would have at least stupefied them or something. Stunned them. So.
Because he did that to Flitwick to keep him out of the way. We'll figure that out later, that he was doing that to protect him rather than, I don't know.
Yeah. So Hermione feels bad. That's the point. Then Draco. So there's this there's this enchantment they put on the bottom of the stairs of the astronomy tower.
Oh yeah.
That they can't, there's a barrier that they can't get through.
Right.
And so the Death Eaters all go up there. The Order and Dumbledore's army are trying to throw stuff at it or whatever just to get through, and they can't. And then Snape comes up and is able to just run right through. And so that's when Harry's like, it was probably like you had to have a dark mark tattoo in order to be able to like get through.
Which makes perfect sense.
Thought.
Yeah.
Perfect sense.
Yeah.
Shockingly perfect sense, in fact. I wouldn't have immediately come up with that, but he's got it right at the tip of his tongue. A few minutes go by. There's eventually like a Death Eater like blasts a curse that like causes the ceiling to like cave in, which like destroys the barrier thing. And then immediately like Snape and Draco come through. He's like holding Draco and they're running by. And then Lupin is like, but we didn't attack them because we thought it was Snape and a student.
Yeah.
Right. And then the battle continues. Tonks says that Snape calls out something, she doesn't know what, and then that's when Harry fills in like the rest of the story. And how they got away. Okay. So then this is at the point when Molly and Arthur show up. And Molly and Arthur are both very upset about what happened to Bill. And to hear what happened to Dumbledore. I just have this weird thing, this whole chapter that was like so surprising to me. And it's about the fact that they keep being like, we just have no idea what will happen to a person when a werewolf out of werewolf form is attacked.
Completely unprecedented.
Like, centuries of history of werewolves, and there's like
never been one that's
I don't even that doesn't even make. I was like, there's nothing like even like Lupin, like it's fine, like okay, Poppy doesn't know, she's a school nurse basically, fine, but like you would think Lupin would be like, oh, here's the rundown because I've studied werewolves because I am one, or like was told what like he's even like, there's no way to ever know. This is unprecedented. And I'm like, this is unprecedented?
There's no time ever before now where a werewolf
Fenrir was the first ever bad werewolf.
Yeah.
I don't buy at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially with how the wizarding world treats, I almost said vampires, treats werewolves.
Yeah. Like, you've got Buffy on the brain.
I know.
Yeah, I was like, it was so annoying. I was like, I just was like, why do you not know? Is it was it done because she wanted to like spook the audience, like the readers, into being like, oh, maybe he's like gonna be a werewolf now or something? Like, it's just like, I don't know. It was weird to me. So Molly comes over to Bill's side. She immediately takes over Poppy has been dabbing ointment, like special ointment on Bill's scarring. So she immediately takes over for Poppy. It's actually, I loved this moment. I thought it was very caring how she just immediately assumes responsibility for Bill's like recovery. It's very sweet. Fleur also has arrived, by the way.
Yeah.
She's in this troop of new arrivals. And Molly kind of bursts into tears and is like, I know it's silly and I shouldn't say this, but like he was always the handsome one and he was going to be married. And Fleur like loses her mind and she's like, what do you mean was going to be married? I just hate this sequence so much. So Molly's like, well, I just thought that maybe, and then Fleur's like, you just thought that maybe like he wasn't gonna like me anymore because he's a werewolf.
He's a werewolf now.
And Molly's like, no, that's not what I meant. And she was like, oh, you thought that maybe I was not going to like him because he wasn't handsome anymore, blah, 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 blah. Well, you're wrong. And fuck you, basically. And then like takes over the ointment from Molly.
But I did like that she said, I am good looking for the both of us.
I'm good looking enough for the both of us. Yeah.
I did like that. That made me laugh.
That was like, funny.
Yeah, okay.
So then, and that's all technically fine. Like there's been this thing brewing with Molly and Fleur. Like it had to come to a head at some point. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, good. Let's get it out in the open. Let's work through it. And so I think what I wanted from this, what it would have satisfied me as a reader and been like, there was growth and not weird Joe stuff, is if Molly had been like, I'm sorry, you're right. Like
Yes.
something like that. But like, it's just completely unremarked upon. And like, Molly almost has this reaction. Like, she's like, well, she's really proved herself now. And I'm like, she didn't have to prove herself because you were the one who doubted her from the beginning.
You were pushing. Yes.
It doesn't,
just because
it's
she's
not
like
her
a
job.
beautiful woman.
It's so weird. I was so annoyed.
Yeah.
And even like, there's this part before this ends up happening where it says like Fleur is like, or I'm sorry, Ginny is like staring at Fleur, like, watching her.
Yes.
And I was like, what is this? Is so weird. I almost would be like, it would be okay if it was just that she was like French and they didn't trust French people. Like, I would be more accepting of that.
Yeah.
But then like, it's literally just always just back to like they don't trust her because she's beautiful. Yeah. It's so bizarre. I hate it.
I will say the way that Molly does not address it outright is very British. Probably specifically like English. It's just outright addressing something like that is so like considered foreign. People will really avoid doing that at all costs unless they're literally like backed up against a wall and it has to happen. It's just crazy. Not like people that are our generation, but because of the age that Joe is, I'm like, oh, that makes sense to me.
Perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then this is when we go. I'm going to be honest. I don't love this chapter. I'll be completely frank. We go straight from this little charade into Tonks being like, see, Remus, she loves him even though he's a werewolf, or he got attacked by a werewolf, so it's fine. And Remus is like,
and Molly and Fleur like hugging each other in like the best of pals now.
Oh yeah, now they're fine.
Yeah.
And then
they're crying together and holding each other and yeah.
Yeah. And so this sets Tonks off and Lupin is like, yes, but I am a werewolf. You deserve better than me. Yeah. I'm older than you, blah, 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 the whole thing. And then Molly says, like, I think Dumbledore would have loved that there was more love in the world, which I think is a horrible sentence in this book.
Oh, well, because he's like, this is not the time. Dumbledore has just died, which honestly is a very good point. So it's really, really weird to say that.
Everyone's being so weird. What are you talking about? We're going to make our relationship public now that, like, it's so bizarre. I hate it. I hate this chapter. So
it was really weird, yeah.
So
that was such a strange thing.
Anyway, then that's when Harry's like, and that's when it dawned on Harry that Tonks wasn't actually in love with her cousin. She's in love with Remus Lupin. And I was like,
not in love with her cousin. Oh, thank God. Anyway.
Hagrid comes in and he is, of course, distraught. He basically cries the rest of this book every time we reference Hagrid for this chapter and the next chapter. It's just him sobbing.
Yeah.
And he says the students are back in their houses, like everything, the body has been moved, blah, 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 blah. And McGonagall says, okay, I want to meet the heads of houses in the office. Please go tell them, Harry, I want to talk to you first. So it's very like a ooh moment, like from a classic like 90s sitcom. So Harry gets taken to what is formerly the headmistress's office.
Yeah, now. Mm-hmm.
They go in, and that's when Harry has the realization of like, oh, I guess it's McGonagall now. I guess she's
office now.
I guess it's her office. And I think though there is like a good aspect of like this over the course of the rest of this book that like Harry, it's the little things when someone passes that you don't think about, that now those are the things that you have to reframe in your brain. And it's like, I think she does a very good job at like writing those like seemingly almost mundane things that you have to like correct yourself on that like make it feel more real.
Yeah.
You know what would make it feel less real, though, is the portrait of Dumbledore that has already just appeared.
Already spawned? Like...
in the
already
office.
There.
He's snoozing in his little frame. This
Adam,
is
that
where
means it's instant. Like they die and it's like poof, like up on the wall.
Was it like before he even hit the ground? Like it was already there. Like it's so crazy to think about. The other thing too that I think is like there is a level that she didn't consider this when she wrote the book series is like the way the portraits are written, the way they can converse is that they still have like, they're still fully cognizant of like, it's not that they exist in their own time and they're just responding to things as if like they're stuck in whenever they died, right? Yeah. Like they can talk to you about things that are happening in real time, even to the point that like some of the portraits are like doing double duty, being like, hey, just so you know, somebody's on their way. Scrimger's on its way. So like, we know that the portraits exist in this time and space in front of us. Like they can have conversations. And we also know that they're them because they talk like them. They have their characteristics, blah, 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 blah. They have their memories.
And supposedly can like visit each other within different portraits. Like they're all going back and forth between different ones.
It's crazy to me that it's like, if I was Harry and I had to do now what he has to do in the next book. Yeah. And I understand why story-wise Joe does not have him do this. But like if it were me, if I was Harry, okay, I would take
if anyone else was
portrait.
Harry.
I would take that portrait off the fucking wall and I would be like, you're going with me because I'm going to have questions. Yeah. Even if it's even if it was like, oh, this portrait Dumbledore doesn't know the Horcruxes or something like whatever, that gets lost in the ether. Yeah. It's still Dumbledore who would be able to teach you fucking magic. Yes. Like it's so, that was not part of like her thought process.
You don't even need, Adam, you don't even need a portrait from that office. Just get a little chocolate frog card of him. Yeah. And be like, hey, I need your help.
Psst, hey.
Apparently, I saw that recently that someone was saying how that's how Dumbledore always has intel because his little chocolate frog selves like report back. So like that's I don't know if that is like canon. I think that is just a fan theory that they're like, oh yeah, in the chocolate frog cards report back to him whatever they hear. So because there's like hundreds or thousands of chocolate frog cards out in the wizarding world, he like knows all this intel all the time. And I was like,
so he's Alexa?
Possible though?
He's Siri?
Siri, yeah. I don't know. I don't know how that works. I don't know how a chocolate frog card would work differently, I would assume, than a portrait.
Yeah, you would think, because it's not... A portrait feels real in a way something mass-produced doesn't. Yes. There does feel like a difference. There does feel like a distinction between portraits and like the pictures. The pictures don't talk. Like photographs just move.
Yes. Yeah.
There's something about the like tactile, a human being painted this, even though there's no way somebody painted Dumbledore's portrait already.
No, it spawns. It just spawns onto the wall. It's crazy.
Did he have to sit for this portrait at one point and then like it was just like in the computer memory? It's so bizarre. It's so weird.
Is he wearing the outfit that he like passed away in? What outfit is he wearing? The one he wore the most in as headmaster? Like,
what did he like the best?
Yeah.
Can the outfits change? It's so weird.
Yeah, can the portrait change its outfit?
Yeah. It's so
It's like weird. Animal Crossing.
Because also like if this was able to be done, right? Like if this was like a thing, people would never move on from grief because you would just ensure that you always got a portrait of like the ones you loved who died. Like
that's what I would do.
Every house would be littered with portraits of like family members who passed away because like
who you can just
it's a way to you can still talk to them. It's not even like that's the weird thing is like they can have actual literal conversations. And it would be one thing if she was like, oh, they did always actually just sleep. It was always just them sleeping in their portraits and they couldn't actually converse. Like then it's like fine. That's why you would like. But like they
already know.
Talk.
Yeah, we already know they can talk, and they're like up and alert in a previous chapter with Dumbledore. So yeah. And in the next book, he's like having full on deep, detailed conversations with Snape. He's like advising Snape. So
right.
He wanted to help Snape. He didn't want to help Harry on his quest. But he was happy to help Snape. Maybe there's some enchantment. Well, you know what? We'll say that it's enchanted on the wall, so it like can't come off. Like that's literally the only.
In the Prime Minister's office.
He still could talk to him in the office. So it's like, that is like one of the biggest things of this book series that I'm like, are you for real? Why would you not just have a conversation with him?
Yeah.
Before you left. Just one.
Wake him up. Wake his ass up. We didn't
even need the King's Cross chapter.
No.
In the next book. He literally could have just gone.
He could have done right now. He could have been like, Dumbledore could have told him right now, hey, I'm actually pretty sure that you're also a Horcrux. So you're probably gonna have to fake die at one point. Just so you know. Just a heads up.
Someone tell Hagrid so Hagrid can go have a little chat with him too. Because he's crying for the rest of this book.
Yes.
Be like, I know you miss him. You can just go have a chat with his portrait up there anytime.
And even if it was just like, I just think it's interesting because the first book, The Mirror of Erised, Dumbledore talks about it like people have gone crazy because they just stare at the thing that they desire.
Yeah.
And they just like want it so bad. Yeah. But I'm like, this is what would make people crazy, is like being able to talk to like they would never work through their grief.
Yeah.
You would basically just be like, oh, I just have them on constant FaceTime whenever I want.
Yeah.
That's what it is now. You would never like have to grapple with the fact that people die.
It would be like they mentally are still there, but not, you would only be
There's
grappling
no tactile,
with the physical loss. Yeah.
It's
which
so
I mean, it is. It's a really weird thing to think about that is just like normalized, and we don't really dive into that more because, especially from a grief standpoint, I'm like, that is wild. Because the first thing I would do would be to go to that painting and have a conversation.
100%. There's no finality to death if you can also just like go chat with them.
This was what I was saying about Harry's parents, and like also Sirius, honestly. Like, it's like, why wasn't there a portrait of them that he could then talk to?
But that's what I'm saying is like, there would be portraits.
To find out more about these portraits. This is like a huge thing now that I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
Who decides who gets portraits and how are they made?
Like, is the fat lady a portrait of a living like, was it like a portrait of a woman?
Yeah, or just a painting.
Is her name like Josephina Garibaldi? Like, who is she? Her name isn't like, Fat Lady.
Yeah. Come on.
Countess sits for a portrait is the title of the painting. Refer to it properly. And you know what? To go along with that, it's not called The Bean in Chicago. It's called Cloud Gate.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Cloud Gate. Okay.
That's the name of the actual piece.
Cloud Gate.
That's enough about the portraits. We have to move on.
Yeah, we have to.
So the reason McGonagall has brought Harry is because she needs to know what happened while they were gone. And Harry has already assumed that that's what she's going to ask about. So he is ready to be like, I'm not telling you.
I can't tell you.
She is very frustrated. She's like, he's gone. Whatever. Even though he's not gone, he's literally next to you.
You can ask him when he wakes up.
Maybe he'll tell you.
Seriously.
So she is like trying to find out the information. He won't share it. And she like kind of just gives up. The heads of house come in. Slughorn is representing Slytherin. And the other thing I did want to say, sorry, Harry does say, I won't tell you about anything, but I will tell you should check on Madame Rosmerta from the Three Broomsticks because she's definitely under a curse and has been been
imperious
fucked up the whole year.
Yeah.
So the heads of house come in, this is when they start to talk about what decisions are we going to make in regards to Hogwarts next year and over the next few days. So McGonagall, first and foremost, is like, I think Hogwarts should not open next year. Now, this I'm going to say would be fine and dandy as an assumption if there was any other fucking wizarding school in this fucking country. You're the only one, girl. You gotta stay open. What are you talking about? People are just gonna be homeschooled?
No students will know how to defend themselves then if you just close. Crazy.
Sprout immediately objects. I love the way that this conversation is written, actually, because all of them seem like they are representing the values of their house in this conversation. It's really cool the way the conversation is written, because Flitwick like has this very logical, like, well, really, we should talk to the Board of Governors and see what they have to say. Sprout is very much like, we have to be open for students because, like, we are
even if there's only one. I will be Slughorn, here.
Slughorn doesn't necessarily, I would say, fit like the Slytherin mold, but he is like...
It's a very Slughorn answer, if that makes sense.
It's a very Slughorn answer, yes. Yeah. And then Hagrid's also in the room, so McGonagall turns to Hagrid and asks him what he thinks, and he's like, well, I'm not a head of house, so yes?
He would be, though. If Minerva is now the headmaster, isn't he the only Gryffindor teacher there? It would be Hagrid, wouldn't it? It would be him. There's not another Gryffindor.
Maybe it's Ferenz.
Adam. It's Hagrid. Unless, what's her name? Unless our girl, unless Sinistra, Professor Sinistra was a Gryffindor, but we know Trelawney. Trelawney couldn't have been a Gryffindor.
No, she fully gives me, I hate to say it, she gives me Hufflepuff for sure.
Yeah, no, she would. But yeah, no, it would have to be Hagrid.
So, she asks him what he would think. He says, no, it's not my place. She says, but Dumbledore valued your opinions and so do I. And I think it's very lovely because we go from the beginning of this book series where, if you remember from the very first chapter, when we're on Privet Drive getting Harry dropped off, she says to Dumbledore, like, oh, you trust Harry with him? Yeah. And I love that.
Hagrid with him.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. You trust Harry with Hagrid.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And so I love this growth of, like, you know, their journey. I think it's very sweet. And he says he will be here. This has been his home since he was 13 years old. And if there's any students there, he will teach them, basically.
Do you know what I think? I think this is so hard for Hagrid because obviously he's already lost his own dad. And now he's basically lost the only other person that kind of like was looking out for him after his dad. Mm-hmm. So having to go through that type of grief, like again, after he's, you know, kind of already had to come to terms with losing his dad at such a young age. Oh my gosh. I just can only imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's Dumbledore, who obviously is like this huge advocate for so many, or like in so many people's minds, he's just like the wizard, basically.
Do we know when his dad died?
Yeah, right after we find out in book 4, it was before he got expelled, and I'm pretty sure he got expelled when he was 13, wasn't he? So
yeah. So that's what, because it bumped me. 12. It bumped me on when he was like, "It's been my home since I was 13," because it's so funny. The idea. Well, first of all, Dumbledore wasn't the headmaster; he was the deputy headmaster when at that time, Hagrid, and then Hagrid was expelled. But it is funny that he like went to dip it and was like, "Listen, I think we should hire this 13-year-old to be the groundskeeper. Yeah, I think he'd do great, even if it was like it's just an apprenticeship." It's just so funny to me.
Yeah.
So, the other line that is crazy, which almost feels like a direct thing to us talking about it in this book is Slughorn says, I taught Snape. I thought I knew him. The thing we had talked about in this book being like, it's so weird that he never brings Snape up.
Yes.
To the point that someone had been like, I think someone in one of our comments, I don't know if we read it on the thing, but they were like, I think he doesn't bring him up because Slughorn's whole thing is like he only talks about the people who would advantage him. Like he would only talk about his former students that would like lead him to look better. So why would he ever bring up the one who like went through at the very least everyone knows that he was formerly a Death Eater, right? Like he would never bring him up because wouldn't make him look good, which I do think that's super fair and something I didn't think about.
Point. Yeah.
But it is funny that like now he's like, oh my God, I can't, like he's finally like cannot believe
I knew him.
Yeah. So crazy. So McGonagall's final decision is that they will consult the Board of Governors, whoever they may be, and they will make the final decision as to whether or not they reopen Hogwarts next year. Then she's like, so I'm going to say that we should end the school year, tomorrow and bring we'll get the train to come up and bring the students home tomorrow. And Harry immediately was like, no, all the students should be able to do the funeral for Dumbledore and say their last goodbyes. I actually liked that he can't say the word goodbye and Sprout finishes it for him. I think that was sweet. So that's the decision that ends up being made. Scrimgeour's coming. So Harry's like, can I go? I don't want to
get out of here. Yeah.
I don't think
I don't want to deal with that.
And she was like, no, you should run the fuck out of here because he's definitely going to want to talk to you. So he runs out. He says that his invisibility cloak has been left in the astronomy tower, but he's not worried about getting caught, obviously, because they just leave
this cloak everywhere.
Everything is happening.
Giant pockets. Why is it not in your pocket?
All of a sudden, now your pockets don't fit the cloak. Oh, okay. So he runs back to the common room. He comes in immediately. Everyone is like hushed as he comes through the room, but he just goes like straight to bed.
Here we go again. Second time in this chapter.
Everyone's talking about Harry. The other thing, I'm sorry. As he gets to the fat lady, she asks if it's true that Dumbledore died. He says yes. And she like wails and then immediately just opens without the password. And I was like, girl, this is a dereliction of duty. Okay. You have one actual literal fucking job, and it's just to make sure people say the password. So you open, you can't just be like, oh,
open it. Opens the door. Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is the first and last time that this like ever happens, correct? She never does this ever again.
Well, he doesn't ever go to the portrait again.
Yeah, true. Yeah, okay. Because I was like, she's never opened the door without them saying the password.
Right. She did a whole thing about like making him. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's so funny. I love that visual though. Oh! So funny. Great.
So, it's also really funny to me, going back to portraits one more time. It's so funny. All these portraits can go in between paintings. I feel like we've talked about this before. This is your security system ready to go. Like, obviously you're already using the fat lady as a security system. She's the fucking, she closes the door. She's the lock.
But we'll never understand how the paintings didn't see the basilisk in book 2.
Never understand, but also like, why did you need Flitwick to go grab Snape? Like, why can't any of the portraits be like, oh my God, let me...
Yes. Every message should be sent by portrait.
Everything is so disordered and chaotic in this book series. I would have to, if I was a wizard, I would be like, I'm excommunicating myself from this community because it's such a fucking nightmare. It's stressing me out.
I'm actively choosing to live amongst the muggles. Thank you.
Yes. Correct. Ugh. So he goes into the dormitory, the boys' dormitory. Ron is sitting there, and Ron is like, "Okay, well, now that we're alone, were you at least able to like destroy the Horcrux?" And Harry reveals that no, they did not, because it was not the real Horcrux. And he hands him the note that he found in the locket. And this is important because I know we're recording spoiler alert, we're recording 2 chapters in one day. He says, Ron asks who is RAB, which is the name or the initials that were written in the note. Mm-hmm. And Harry has this line where he's like, he was the least curious he'd ever been. He couldn't care less about who RAB was. He was just like so tired of all of it, basically. And I think that's important because I'm going to bring it up when you're talking about the next chapter. But he doesn't care. He's over it. He wants to go to bed. And then as like they both sit there in silence, he notices that it is silent now. Fox had finally stopped singing their sad song and has left the grounds forever. And that's the end of the chapter.
Oh, sweet Fox.
Sweet
Fox.
Fox.
What happens when... I don't know what happens to a phoenix if their like owner passes. They just go and live in the wilderness, I guess, on their own after that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe they like go through the cycle one more time, but then like pass as well. I don't know.
It's interesting because it reminds me of the idea of a swan song, right? That there's like one last song a swan has before it passes away. So I wonder if that's like kind of the inspiration she was drawing from.
Yeah, no, probably. Yeah, that would make sense. All right, that wraps up this chapter. Thank you, Adam. That was lovely for quite the chapter. Next week, we'll be reading chapter 30, The White Tomb. We do have a comment from Francis Gerber. Francis says, I started playing Hogwarts Legacy and wanted to share some great canon extensions. Floo Network is utilized throughout the castle and the extended universe, Hogsmeade and other villages, to quickly travel to different locations. And this is like in the past. This is set in the past. So we have no excuse now no excuse why it shouldn't still be utilized in that way. Number 2, bathrooms. I have been in the prefect's bathroom and multiple other bathrooms, so they do exist in this universe. And in the game, a lot of them have out-of-order toilets that are spraying out water. I think I have seen a video of that. That's funny. Great episode as always. 5 stars only. Thank you, Francis.
Okay. So Francis, I agree. I have seen gameplay of Hogwarts Legacy and there are bathrooms and yes, there are toilets that spray water. This is true. However, when Ari and I are talking about bathrooms that do not exist at Hogwarts, we are specifically talking about places that one bathes, not necessarily the toilets.
Like an actual shower room.
And that I do not think exists. Now, I don't think you need to make it exist in Hogwarts Legacy, the game. I think that would be great. Like, there's no reason for that to have to exist at all. You don't shower as a student, I'm pretty sure, in that game. That would be insane if that was part of the gameplay. But it is just, I always think about how these students fucking smell at this school. There's no one's ever bathing.
Is there another actual bathing room other than the prefects? Michael and I were talking about this. Yeah, actual baths or showers. Michael and I were talking about this when we were taking the dogs for a walk the other night because he was like, so it's only the prefect bathroom? And I was like, yeah, we've talked about this on the podcast. And he was like, can the Quidditch captains go in there? And I was like, nope, I'm pretty sure it's just the prefects. And he was like,
I mean, maybe there's like showers in the locker room, but again, that would just be the Quidditch
for
locker room.
Yeah, like for the Quidditch team.
But also,
like, there's nothing for just like regular students.
I mean, as weird as it's interesting that as weird as Joe is about, like, now we know about gender and stuff like that, is that they're like, the locker room is just, they all change together.
Co-ed. Oh yeah, we said that about that was what Michael and I were talking about with the prefect bathroom too. Michael was like, you don't think there were like tons of teenagers like trying to get into the prefect bathroom to like hook up because they could just both be naked.
You have to like sign out a time to be like, I'm using the tub, but like the bath we learn is so big that it's like
pool size.
Right. It's so strange.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And yeah, the fact that it's co-ed is just, I'm like, really? With everything you've revealed to us about yourself, Joe? Really?
Yeah.
Thank you for your comments. We love hearing what you guys think. I still really do. I haven't played Hogwarts Legacy. If I bought it now, I would buy like a copy from someone that was reselling it. So I like wouldn't contribute anything to her. But I am still kind of curious of like what exploring that world in that way would be like. But I don't know when I would have time to play that game.
It's so funny because I haven't heard anything about it since it came. Like it was like caused a big kerfuffle when it came out. There was a lot of articles about it. Obviously, I think it sold a ton of units, and then like no one talks about it anymore. So it's very interesting.
Well, now but there is another one.
Are they making
like
a second
another
one?
game coming? Yeah, so that's why I heard about it recently, because they are making like a second game of it. There's a second one coming. You can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find your podcasts, as well as video versions on the Ampliverse YouTube channel and Spotify. As always, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so you can get a perfect Newt score. 5 stars only, or else you'll have scars on your face that'll never heal from a werewolf. Absolutely. You'll have cursed scars from a werewolf that wasn't fully transformed, and no one will know what to do because it's so just annoying. Unprecedented.
So annoying.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at HMeAnxious or YouTube and TikTok at the Ampliverse. We are hosted on Spotify for podcasters, so thank you to them and are a proud member of the Ampliverse. Check them out at theampliverse.com. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Ari.
And as always, why is it? I'm literally singing it was Food Wonderful Food from Oliver that came out of my mouth. Food
Perfect.
Wonderful Food. What's a better one? What's like a sad song? I don't know a sad enough song.
The silver swan.
Yes.
Who living had no note. Whoa, 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 whoa.